Marcus Blackwood collapsed in his penthouse, alone except for his golden walls and empty champagne bottles. The 3 homeless boys he'd kicked out of his building yesterday? They're about to become his only lifeline. Sometimes the universe has a twisted sense of humor. Sometimes the people you hurt the most are the ones who save your soul. What happens when pride meets desperation? You're about to find out. But first, let me tell you how a man who had everything lost it all in 48 hours. The marble floors of Marcus Blackwood's Manhattan penthouse gleamed like mirrors, reflecting nothing but emptiness. At 4 a.m. sharp, his Italian leather shoes clicked across the cold stone as he prepared his protein shake. The same routine. Every single day. For 10 years. Outside his floor-to-ceiling windows, New York City sparkled like diamonds scattered across black velvet. Marcus owned 3 buildings in this view. He'd bought them the way normal people buy coffee, without thinking twice. Power is the only currency that matters, he muttered, adjusting his $5,000 watch. His voice echoed in the vast space, answering no one. Marcus had inherited his family's tech empire at 21, then tripled it through cryptocurrency investments. By 34 he commanded more wealth than small countries. But wealth, he'd learned, was a fortress that kept everyone out. Downstairs, pressed against his building's marble entrance, 3 boys huddled together for warmth. The December wind cut through their thin jackets like knives, but they had nowhere else to go. Jake, 19, clutched a worn recipe book against his chest. His mother's handwriting filled every page: chocolate chip cookies, Sunday roast, birthday cakes he'd never taste again. She died when he aged out of foster care. Now he slept in doorways and dreamed of culinary school. Tommy, 16, counted crumpled dollar bills from selling newspapers. Every penny would go toward rescuing his 12-year-old sister Emma from their father's fists. He'd run away to protect her, sending money home while sleeping on streets. David, 17, lived in his broken Honda, its engine dead for 3 months. Genius-level IQ, perfect SAT scores, but college applications required an address he didn't have. He fixed broken electronics for food money, his brilliant mind trapped by circumstances. These 3 boys had found each other the way broken people do, recognizing pain in familiar eyes. That morning, Marcus stormed from his building, phone pressed to his ear. "I don't care about the market dip. Sell everything in the Asian portfolio." He nearly tripped over Jake's outstretched legs. "Watch it." Marcus snarled, his $1,000 suit pristine against their raggedness. Jake scrambled up, clutching his mother's recipe book. "Sorry, sir. We were just. I don't want excuses. I want you gone." Marcus's voice carried across the street. "Security." 2 guards appeared instantly. Marcus pointed at the boys like they were diseased. "Get these rats away from MY property. If I see them again, call the police." The guards grabbed the boys roughly. Jake's recipe book fell, pages scattering across the sidewalk. Marcus stepped on it deliberately, his Italian leather grinding his mother's handwritten dreams into the concrete. "Please," Jake whispered, reaching for the torn pages. "It's all I have left of her." Marcus didn't even look back. From across the street, the 3 boys watched him disappear into his golden fortress. Tommy's hands clenched into fists. David quietly gathered Jake's scattered pages, smoothing each one carefully. "Rich people," Tommy spat. "They think money makes them gods." But David was staring at the building thoughtfully. Hurt people," he said quietly. "Wonder what broke him." That night, Marcus felt sharp pains in his chest. He dismissed them as stress, pouring another glass of champagne. He had no idea his phone was about to ring with news that would shatter his perfect, lonely world. The call came at 6:47 a.m. "Marcus, you need to come in immediately." Dr. Harrison's voice was grim. "Your blood work shows acute leukemia." The crystal tumbler slipped from Marcus's fingers, shattering across the marble floor. The world tilted sideways. He gripped the counter, his legs suddenly unable to support him. What does that mean?" His voice cracked like a teenager's. "It means you have 6 months, maybe less, without treatment. You'll need a bone marrow transplant to survive." Marcus's empire, his billions, his power, none of it mattered now. "How much?" he whispered desperately. "It's not about money, Marcus. It's about finding a compatible donor." Within hours, Marcus had hired the world's best medical team. Private investigators scoured the globe for distant relatives. He offered $10 million for a compatible donor. Nothing. No matches. No hope. His condition deteriorated rapidly. Nosebleeds stained his silk shirts. Dizziness sent him crashing into walls. His assistant quit with tears in her eyes. I can't watch you die alone, sir. 2 weeks later, Marcus collapsed outside his own building, his briefcase scattering expensive papers across the same sidewalk where he'd destroyed Jake's recipe book. Blood trickled from his nose onto the concrete. The three boys found him there. Should we call 911? Jake asked, kneeling beside the unconscious man who'd called them rats. What if it's a trap? Tommy's voice shook with old fear. David checked Marcus's pulse. He's dying. They carried him inside, David's cracked phone dialing emergency services. In the ambulance, Marcus drifted in and out of consciousness, glimpsing three faces he'd tried to forget. At the hospital, Dr. Harrison delivered the impossible news. We tested everyone who helped you. David is a perfect bone marrow match. Marcus stared at the 17-year-old boy he'd called street trash. The boy who lived in a broken car. The boy whose brilliance he'd never bothered to see. I'll do it, David said quietly. No money needed. Marcus's pride warred with his desperation. I don't need charity from children. Jake stepped forward, his mother's recipe book carefully taped back together. We're not children. We're the only family you've got. The words hit harder than any diagnosis. Swallowing his pride like poison, Marcus made an offer that burned his throat. I'll pay you each $1 million to stay in my penthouse during treatment. The boys exchanged glances. Keep your money, Tommy said. But we'll help you get better. When Victoria made her final desperate play, claiming Marcus was hallucinating and the boys were manipulating a dying man, the nurses produced their own recordings. Victoria's words condemned her. I don't care if he dies. I just want the money. The surgery succeeded. David's bone marrow was a perfect match, and both patients recovered side by side in the same hospital room. Why did you save me? Marcus asked when he could finally speak. David's answer was simple and devastating. Because everyone deserves a family. But the biggest surprise was still coming. What Marcus discovered about himself would change not just his life, but the lives of everyone he'd ever ignored. Are you ready for this? Victoria Sterling's empire crumbled like a house of cards. 25 years of embezzlement and fraud unraveled in court. Her assets were seized, her reputation destroyed. As she was led away in handcuffs, her final words cut through the courtroom. You'll die alone anyway, Marcus. Marcus's quiet response silenced the room. No. I won't. Recovery was a revelation. The boys took turns reading to him, bringing homemade meals that tasted like love. Marcus asked Jake to teach him to cook. I want to learn to take care of people. He listened to Tommy's stories about his sister, immediately offering legal help. He watched David solve equations that would challenge MIT professors, finally seeing the brilliant mind he'd almost destroyed. Tears came easily now, 20 years of frozen emotion melting away. I almost threw away the best thing that ever happened to me, he whispered. Marcus's generosity flowed like a dam breaking. He established a scholarship fund in his parents' name. Jake's culinary school tuition, paid in full, plus living expenses. Top lawyers rescued Tommy's sister from their abusive father. David received a full ride to MIT with research opportunities. We didn't help you for money, the boys protested. I know, Marcus replied. That's why I trust you with it. The penthouse transformed from a museum into a home. Sunday dinners became sacred tradition, Jake cooking, everyone sharing stories. Marcus learned to play video games with Tommy, helped David with college applications. He framed Jake's mother's recipe book, displaying it where everyone could see. The ripple effects spread beyond their small family. Marcus changed his business practices, implementing fair wages and ethical policies. The building's ground floor became a homeless shelter. The boys helped run community programs, teaching Marcus about the realities of street life. Local news ran a feature, Millionaire's second chance at life. But Marcus knew the truth, they'd given him his first chance at really living. At his parents' graves, Marcus read his father's final letter aloud while the boys stood beside him. Son, love is the only wealth that multiplies when shared. He broke down crying, the first tears he'd shed in 20 years. The boys comforted him without words, just presence. Your parents would be proud of who you're becoming, Tommy said softly. The court granted Tommy custody of 12-year-old Emma. At the airport, Marcus watched from a distance as Tommy saw his sister for the first time in 2 years. Her first words to Marcus made him kneel to her level. Are you the angel who saved my brother? No, sweetheart, he whispered. He saved me. David's MIT acceptance letter arrived with full scholarship plus research opportunities. When he hesitated, I can't leave you guys, Marcus's response came from his heart. Family doesn't end because of distance. It grows stronger. At David's going-away party filled with neighborhood kids they'd helped, David's tearful speech brought everyone to tears. "You showed me that intelligence without kindness is worthless." Jake opened Three Boys Kitchen in the building's main floor. His mother's recipes alongside gourmet creations brought the community together. Marcus was the first customer, tears streaming as he tasted Jake's mother's chocolate chip cookies. "Food is love made visible," Jake said, watching Marcus savor every bite. Marcus established the Second Chances Foundation, helping homeless youth across the city. He worked directly with kids, no longer hiding behind assistants. The boys teased him about getting his hands dirty. "I've never been cleaner in my life," he replied, and meant it. 1 year after his diagnosis, Marcus was declared cancer-free. The boys surprised him with a photo album of their year together. The final page contained adoption papers. "Will you be our dad?" Marcus's breakdown was complete and beautiful. "I thought I was dying alone. Instead, I learned how to live." Full circle came when Marcus found a new homeless boy sleeping in his building doorway. Instead of calling security, he sat down beside him. "Are you hungry? I know some boys who make incredible pancakes." From upstairs, three faces watched and smiled. The cycle of kindness continued. Type family if you believe in second chances. 2 years later, Marcus walked through his building, now a thriving community center. Jake's restaurant bustled with laughter. Tommy's sister studied in the tutoring hall. David video called from MIT, sharing his latest breakthrough. New homeless youth found help and hope daily. Marcus looked at his family photo, not blood relatives but chosen family. The faces that had saved his life smiled back at him. "I thought wealth was about having everything," he reflected. "It's about giving everything that matters. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what really counts. Sometimes the people society ignores are the ones who save us all." What would you do if 3 strangers saved your life? Do you believe people can truly change? Have you ever been someone's second chance? Share this story if you believe in the power of kindness. Comment below, what's your definition of real family? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that prove love always wins. Because sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. And sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places. Like 3 boys who saw a dying man's heart when everyone else saw only his money. Marcus didn't understand. In his world, everything had a price. "Why would you help me for free?" David's answer was simple: because everyone deserves a chance to live. The penthouse felt different with 3 teenage boys echoing through its empty halls. Marcus set ridiculous rules. Don't touch the art, don't use the main elevator, stay in the guest wing. The boys followed them patiently, like they were humoring a difficult child. Marcus watched them through security cameras, fascinated despite himself. David studied advanced mathematics from library books, solving equations that would challenge PhD students. Jake transformed kitchen scraps into meals that made Marcus's 5-star chef look amateur. Tommy video called his little sister every night, promising to bring her home soon. During his first chemotherapy session, Marcus's hands shook uncontrollably. Without a word, Jake reached over and held them steady. It was the first human comfort Marcus had felt in 20 years. But Marcus's pride was about to cost him everything. Because his enemies had been watching. And they were about to make their move. What they discovered would either destroy him, or set him free. Victoria Sterling arrived unannounced, her Chanel suit sharp as a blade. Marcus's business partner for 5 years, she'd been watching his decline with calculating eyes. "You look terrible, darling," she purred, settling into his leather chair like she owned it. "Someone needs to save the company." Marcus's blood ran cold as she slid documents across his glass desk. Bank statements. Transfer records. $30 million moved to offshore accounts. "You've been stealing from me," he whispered. Victoria's laugh was crystalline and cruel. "You're dying, Marcus. Someone had to think ahead." From the kitchen, the 3 boys heard raised voices. They exchanged worried glances, moving closer to listen. "You want to know the truth?" Victoria's voice turned venomous. "Your parents didn't die in an accident. They were murdered." The world stopped spinning. "My father was your father's business partner 25 years ago. Your precious daddy discovered Dad was skimming profits. Instead of talking it out like gentlemen, he threatened to destroy our family." Marcus gripped the desk, his knuckles white. "You're lying. That plane crash? Sabotage. We've been planning this revenge for 22 years. Every partnership, every deal, every moment of trust, it was all leading to this." Marcus's rage exploded. He swept the priceless Ming vase from his desk, watching it shatter against the wall. The effort left him gasping, collapsing into his chair. The boys rushed in, surrounding him protectively. "Get out," he gasped at them. "This isn't your fight." But they didn't move. In the kitchen, Jake whispered urgently, "We have to call the police." David was already researching the old plane crash on his laptop. "Look at this." The investigation was closed too quickly. Someone paid to bury the evidence. Tommy had been following Victoria whenever she left the building. "She's been meeting with dangerous men. They're planning something big." The boys faced an impossible choice: tell Marcus and risk him not trusting them, or handle it themselves and risk everything. David made the decision. He'll never forgive us if we go behind his back. But he'll never forgive himself if we get hurt because of his pride. Victoria returned 3 days later with 2 men in expensive suits and dead eyes. She carried legal documents and a smile that promised destruction. "I'm having you declared mentally incompetent due to your illness," she announced, setting papers before Marcus. "Sign over your shares, or these boys have unfortunate accidents." Marcus saw the fear flash across 3 young faces. The same faces that had saved his life without asking for anything in return. "I'll sign," he said quietly. "Just leave them alone." "No." Jake stepped forward, his voice shaking but determined. "We're not leaving you, Mr. Blackwood." Victoria's thugs moved toward the boys. Marcus watched in horror as everything became clear. His father had died protecting his family's honor, and now history was repeating itself. But the boys had been busy. "Actually," David said, pulling out his phone, "you might want to see this." The screen showed a video of Victoria confessing to embezzlement. Another showed her meeting with criminals. A third revealed the location of stolen art in a warehouse. "We've been recording everything," Tommy said. "And we found where you're hiding the stolen goods." Victoria's face went white. "You stupid children. You have no idea what you've done." The police lieutenant who'd been waiting outside stepped into the penthouse. "Actually, they've done exactly what we needed. We've been investigating Victoria Sterling for months. We just needed proof." As the warehouse was raided, they discovered not just stolen art, but Marcus's parents' preserved belongings. Hidden in a safe was his father's final recording. "If something happens to me, Victoria's father killed my business partner in 1998. I have proof. But more importantly, if you're hearing this, son, remember, love is the only wealth that multiplies when shared." Marcus collapsed from shock and medical exhaustion. The stress triggered massive internal bleeding, and suddenly they were racing to the hospital for emergency surgery. David, still bruised from fighting Victoria's thugs, insisted on immediate surgery. He doesn't have time to wait. But Victoria had one last card to play. Her remaining thug broke into the hospital, cornering Tommy and Jake in the waiting room. "Your friend dies or the old man dies. Choose." From his hospital bed, connected to machines, Marcus heard the commotion. His desperate voice carried down the hall. "Take me. Leave them alone. Please." The boys refused to abandon him. Jake created a diversion while Tommy called security. David, despite being wheeled into surgery, forced himself up to help his friends. Marcus watched through the doorway as 3 boys who owed him nothing risked everything for him. His whisper was lost in the chaos. "I don't deserve you."